gentle was that? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. First of all, again, my name's Michelle Michael, and Jeff, thank you for that really lovely introduction. This is my first time speaking here. So like they say on radio talk shows, long time listener, first time caller. So I want to thank you all for the honor of being able to stand before you and talk. The seventh principle of spiritualism states, we affirm the moral responsibility of individuals and that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. Now, I'm going to ask for your participation in this, and because it's my first time doing it, I can get away with it. So, I would like to ask various members of you one word that to you defines happiness. And I'd like you to go ahead and volunteer, or I'm going to volunteer you for it. And I'm going to start with Ken. One word. It's not a homework assignment. Belief? Belief. Perfect. Gentlemen, yes.
Music.
Music. Beautiful. Ed, I know you studied for this exam.
Joy.
Joy. Thank you. David?
Love.
Love. Beautiful. See, there's a lot of, and I know you'd love to say something.
Family.
Beautiful. Beautiful. There is a meaning for everybody regarding happiness, and that can change from time to time also. And I want to share with you my thoughts on happiness. Okay. All right, that makes me happy. Webster's dictionary defines happiness as a state of well-being, contentment, or a pleasurable or satisfying experience. Synonyms for happiness are joy, blessedness, bliss, gladness, contentment. I mean, the list goes on. Now, I have a tougher question for you. Frankly, how many times have we pressured ourselves into feeling guilty or bad, less than worthy, because we aren't feeling blissful or content all or most of the time? Or maybe just at the times when we think we should be happy, like we're doing something wrong because we haven't figured out how to be happy, how to remain in that constant state of euphoria, or just even to be content and blissful. Just be happy all the time, la la la. Okay, so those who have felt this way at some time in your life, raise your hands. And everybody in this room should have their hand up. Come on, we've all felt. Yes, we have. I mean, we know this of all of us. Someone's thinking, oh, my son is failing math, but it doesn't matter because I'm happy. My husband is cheating on me. Doesn't bother me. I'm in a state of bliss. Oh, she said that about me. I'm okay with that because I'm joyfully happy. Okay, so the reality is that you're not going to leave here today after listening to my talk with a permanently changed and uplifted state of mind just because I tell you this is the state of mind you should be in. That's the responsibility of universal law, also known as nature's physical and spiritual laws. That's up to them to do this. It is the laws of the universe to teach and show you that happiness is a much more beneficial state of mind for us in learning our lessons. And I will explain why and how that happens for us. So stop beating yourself up and know that you're not doing it wrong. Failure is the greatest teacher of all. Now, I know this is true because I heard Yoda say it in a movie once. There are periods in your life when you feel like you're failing because you think you are not achieving or maintaining a more positive attitude in your life. You find it extremely difficult or unable to embrace a happy or contented or accepting attitude during times of stress, financial or health hardship, loneliness, sadness, the loss of a loved one, any and all of the challenges we experience in this human existence, then I ask you to be gentler on yourself and try to look at your life and what you're going through a different lens in order to have a different perspective, because you're not doing it wrong. Each of us have free will that we use to exercise our right, not just our ability, of creating and bringing happiness or unhappiness into our state of being. And by each one of us individually remembering that gift of free will, it means we have much more freedom and control over our state of mind than we may realize or give ourselves credit for. However, there are times we need to remember to give ourselves permission to use our free will to create a better state of mind for ourselves, a more positive state of mind. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Yes. That's a yes. So what are the benefits of being happy? And let's not just use the word happy. Think of other words such as contented, at peace, positive state of mind, blissful, calm, joyful, fulfilled, open-hearted, the list goes on. It's easy to come up with the most obvious reasons of being happy. The first one is because it makes us feel good, mentally, physically, and emotionally. However, there is a more predominant and necessary reason, which you may not fully be aware of. Because the reality is that whatever experiences occur in your life that create the mental, physical, and emotional opposite in your mind of happiness, then there is an intended purpose behind that. There is a universal law occurring that creating that experience so that you will feel and understand the contrast between happiness and unhappiness. This is the only way you can learn to exercise the universal law of free will, your free will, in order to help you choose the state of mind you want to be in. So embracing a more positive state of mind allows us to move with grace and ease through our life lessons, which our soul desires and needs in order to learn and grow. Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because I'm not done yet. Think about it. If there's an experience in your life that creates fear, sadness, envy, guilt, hatred, any sort of negative emotions within you, think about how difficult it is, how much more of a struggle it is to get through it, how much pain you are feeling. You think, I can't wait for this to be over. I wish this had never happened. Or better yet, why me? When negative thoughts and emotions are occurring for you, then recognize that you and your ego are in some way resisting or putting up barriers which are going to prevent or slow you down from learning a lesson that universal law has brought into your life for your soul to learn and grow from, as well as being able to move through it faster and with more grace and ease. And the more challenging or stronger the lesson for you, then the more important and more beneficial it is to have a positive, accepting state of mind in dealing with it. All of the negative emotions we experience within ourselves that are the opposite of happiness are necessary to almost force us to exercise the spiritual side of free will. For some of us, it may take one experience to change our attitude and learn the lesson. For others, it may take a lifetime or lifetimes of experiences. But this is the only way for us to individually learn and understand the true benefits of embracing a happier or more positive attitude. So remember, when you recognize that you are holding on to a negative attitude or emotion, you're not doing it wrong. But changing your perspective of the situation will help you to understand and accept that it's all part of your own universal blueprint in order to learn. Many people consider Jesus as one of the highest examples of someone who embraced and reflected blissfulness, acceptance, contentment, non-judgment fully in his life. But Jesus didn't just wake up one day and say, this is the way I'm going to live my life every day of my life, and step right into it. He may have come to earth equipped with more wisdom and insight, stronger tools than most of us, and a pretty good father. But he still had to go through human experiences in order to understand and exercise the universal law of free will. So much is missing in the Bible about the life of Jesus, about him as a young child, as a curious student traveling in other countries, what he studied or who his teachers or fellow students were that he studied with. I feel that it just makes sense that it was during this unrecorded time that he probably experienced events and relationships that challenged his human emotions enough for him to be aware of the contrasts in order for him to exercise his own free will and make the spiritual choices that allowed him to evolve into the spiritual master whose life is recorded in the Bible. And that is exactly what each of us is going through in our own way every day. Maybe at different speeds, but then again, we know that time is just a concept created by man. I have a story about, personal story, about when my husband Ed and I went on our first date about 5 years ago. We met at a restaurant, and of course, in getting to know one another, we shared our background stories. Then at one point, Ed started talking about his past wife, who had died 5 years earlier from health-related issues. The more he talked, the more I could see he was getting caught up in the sad emotions of the experience of her death. And I could sense that he was still deeply holding on to his emotions of sadness and guilt and loss after all these 5 years. So when he was done sharing his story, I just looked at him. And to this day, I don't know where this came from, but then I asked him, would you like to know what I think? I think it's time you learn how to laugh again. That simple statement must have hit home with him, because after a moment of processing it, he smiled and he started laughing. I saw his eyes, his heart lighten up, like a big stone was lifted off of him. Right then and there, he made the choice. He gave himself permission to start letting go of the heaviness, the weight of those emotions that he carried around for so long. And he saw it was a time to embrace a sense of happiness and lightness for himself. I tell you, if you've ever seen this happen with somebody, and you're there, it's really interesting to watch, because you are an audience. Ever since that evening, I have never seen him be so intensely trapped in those old emotions. So, in closing, I hope these words will help you to reflect that the reason we experience happiness and unhappiness, negative and positive emotions, is how the laws of the universe teaches our soul the lessons it is seeking to learn. It is all a matter of perspective on how you want to learn them. And remember, you're not doing it wrong. Remember, live your life with this in the background always. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.